Let's cross to Queensland now and join One Nation founder and leader Pauline Hanson, who's in Ipswich. Good to talk to you, Pauline. The Ipswich show is running. It didn't happen last year?
No, it didn't because of COVID. So it's running this year and it looks fantastic. So say to people, it's over 3 days, today, tomorrow and Sunday. So come and see the Ipswich show. You're not sitting on one of those things where people can throw a ball and dunk you in the water or anything, are you, to raise some money? No, that was years ago, but it's not going to happen again. I can tell you, when they invited me here in 1997 to actually open the show, they wanted me to jump out of an aeroplane and parachute down. I said, it's not happening. I live a quiet life these days, Chris. All right, so the show's open all weekend, presumably. Hopefully the weather's good. It'll be great for people to get out and about, especially having missed it last year. Now, I want to ask you, firstly, about the restrictions in Queensland, and talk yet of restrictions coming back in, a lot of nervousness. Are you happy that the Palaszczuk government's gotten over its sort of lockdown and border closure fetishes, or are you concerned that they might be jumpy still? Look, I hope they're not as jumpy as what they were in the past, because it really does affect businesses here in Queensland. The tourism industry, the biggest effect is when people book their trips to come to Queensland and at the last minute it's shut down. We do have at the airports, they've actually got, they're looking at everyone, where they're coming from, especially from Sydney and New South Wales, so looking at those areas. Chris, it's really is detrimental to a lot of the border closures, to businesses, to tourism, to people how they get on with their lives. So I hope they're not jumping at the gun and just shutting them at the drop of a hat, and especially when there's only 1 or 2 COVID cases around. Yeah, look, the situation, I suppose, is highlighted by those Australians stuck in India, and the first repatriation flights are underway now. Let's have a look firstly at an Australian citizen who's looking to be on one of those flights, Sunny Jura. Gabriella Power caught up with him on Sky earlier today.
I'd like to share a good news that I am on the first flight that has been scheduled for tonight, and we'll be landing in Darwin tomorrow, provided I get my RT-PCR and rapid antigen test negative. So we've done the RT-PCR, just waiting for the rapid antigen test as well. So I am feeling extremely lucky and grateful that I've been allocated a seat along with my mother on this flight.
Yeah, well, let's hope Sunny's still on that flight. We don't know, Pauline, because the news is that 40 people have tested positive, another 30 were close associates. So 70 people, almost half the people who were going to be on that flight, aren't able to come to Australia because of those concerns. Does that prove the problem, or prove that the solution is okay? We're stopping infected people getting on?
Well, Chris, remember what happened, that border closures have happened because of a couple of cases. Now, the states have agreed with the federal government to only allow so many people into their states each week coming back from overseas. We don't have the facilities in Queensland to cope with an enormous number of people coming back. So remember, people voted back in McGowan in Western Australia and Palaszczuk in Queensland purely for the fact is they kept us safe. And this is the feeling of the people. We actually have to deal with it, and hopefully that the health officers are getting it right. Now, I've spoken to John Wagner from up at Toowoomba. He wants to put at Well Camp, he wants to, at their expense, put in 1,000 beds for people coming back into the country. He's told me, he said, will not cost the government 1 cent, the federal government 1 cent, but he can't get their go-ahead, and they are not agreeing with it. So I asked Morrison the question, why will you not allow an independent person to put up 1,000 beds? All they need from you is a nod that you will actually direct people to their camp. And he can't get an answer out of them. So not 1 cent cost to the taxpayers of Australia. So if you've got people wanting to do that, you'll base it on what's happened in Darwin, which has been very successful. So, you know, this is a problem that the federal government are not doing the right thing by the people of Australia.
There's a lot of push in that direction. We'll follow that up. Just very briefly, your thoughts on these revelations about the Queensland Police and their gender agenda, actually letting women into the force who didn't meet the criteria.
Well, they were pushing towards females to getting it, and they stopped about 200 men that would have been up to the scratch to actually take on the position. These women didn't pass the psychological or even the physical aspects of being policing, but they're pushing for the women to take up these positions. And as I have always said, Chris, it must be based on merit and the ability to do the job. We have to get rid of this gender politics of pushing people just because of their gender. It's not doing us or the society a favour. And this is what I said constantly. I've got 3 boys. So what do I tell my sons? Don't go to uni, don't study this, because I tell you what, your chance of getting a job is not going to be good because you're not of the right sex. That is so wrong.
It is wrong.
And I'd like to get rid of it in politics.
And this exposed it. Yep. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Have a good night and good luck on the Laughing Clowns.
Good night. Bye, Chris.